Hey folks, Sophia here. Today I'm going to be talking about descanning, both just in general and specifically for hunting. Um, Dscan is one of the three primary tools you use to figure out what's in space around you. And it's kind of a shame that a lot of people don't use it at all or don't use it to its full potential. All of this stuff is really straightforward and simple. So, yeah, learn about it and start using it. First up, we'll talk about our local window here, our local chat. It's obviously going to tell us everybody's in system with us, right? At least in K-space. That's known space. In J-space, wormhole space, it'll be, and as well as Pochven, it'll remain empty unless people talk in it, in which case they'll show up in the list, and then they'll stick around for a while even if they leave system. So it's not reliable. But in K-space, it lets you know who's in system with you. A good trick is to select your local list or somebody in it, and then do Control A to select all. This way, if anyone new comes into system, they'll be added to this list, but they won't be highlighted, and you'll easily be able to see that somebody new has come into system. That's what people who are saying like +1 or +2 in fleet are watching to figure out that people are coming into system. Like we just saw, Skull again, and Zobile came into system, right? Very useful. And then, of course, your overview for your grid. It's going to show everyone who's on grid with you, as well as celestials that you can warp to that are further away. And then you'll notice I have this big blank area down here. This is where I keep my dScan. So I always have it open. In a really big fleet flight, I might shrink it down and then give more room to my overview. And obviously, if you have a bigger window that can support multiple overviews and you can fill your screen with more windows, then by all means do so. But dScan should basically always be open. Yeah, so you can open it up down here, your directional scanner. And if it opens up, how it's going to look? It can also look crazy. Dock and solar system map. So you can have things all sort of like connected in a window like this, which, yeah, you want them undocked. You want separate things, right? Okay, good. Just so that you can see how you can do that. So here I have my overview. So local is telling me everyone who's in system, overview everyone who's on grid, and dScan is telling me information about everything within 14.3 astronomical units. Now, just like your overview, you can have separate tabs that have separate filters, right? So this is sort of like the default PvP one I'm on at the moment, but I also have one for getting my pod out that doesn't have any ships on it and just things I can warp to. I also have one for hostile Bouchers and Dictors, who are sort of like high priority targets I might want to target. Flag cruisers, so I can find monitors if I'm going in to scram them. All those different things. The same thing is true for your dScan as well. So you can choose different overview filters that you want to have in your dScan. Now your dScan doesn't differentiate between friends and foe like your overview does. So that's one limitation of it. But you can still change what's on here. And unfortunately, I mean, just like overviews, everyone sort of has their own way of doing it, their own settings, their own approach. The same is kind of true for dScan. And I don't really have a way to make like a perfectly standardized version for you to use here. You'll kind of be left to figure that part out on your own. I'm currently using Kismeter's overview pack with a custom filter that I've made called dScan for my elite hunting ways. If you're using ZTAC S, there's a couple filters called like dScan Defensive, dScan Hunting, dScan Rex, etc. that you can kind of play around with. You'll kind of just have to figure it out on your own. What you definitely want on here though is ships, so that you can find ships in space. You want citadels, so like Athenors. Even though the Athenor here like shows up on my overview, that's only because I have docking access. So if this was a hostile Athenor, even though it's only 8. Well, even though it's not on grid, because it's not on grid, it's not going to show up on my overview. I can only see it in my dScan or on the solar system map. You're also going to want probes, so that you can see if someone's coming to combat, probe you down. And bubbles, because you want to dScan gates to make sure they're clear before you warp to them, right? And anchorable bubbles, and yeah, I don't know. Depending what you're trying to do, you might have different dScans for different things as well. But those ones are sort of like the basics. So if we open up the solar system map, which I like to do this way, although I think you can do just like this. Yeah, just like that. Anyways, you can see a visual representation of the dScan sphere that I'm currently scanning, right? So here I am here, and I have my dScan at max distance of 14.3, and I can see everything that I'm currently scanning. So I'm using a hotkey right now to scan, so that's why it's updating. The default hotkey is Victor, V as in Victor. I have it set to my mouse because I'm spamming it all the time. So I just need something that I can constantly be clicking to see what's in space around me. If I shrink down the range, you'll see an associated change in the size of the volume that I'm scanning. And you can also change the angle. So this creates a scan cone. So here I have a 90-degree cone, and the cone faces in the direction that my camera is pointing. So I can spin it around towards the system center, and catch more things, change the angle down, change the range. So now I'm only scanning a very small part of the sky, and that's how you can adjust that. So in general, when you're just sort of like chilling, let's say you're out ratting or something, or sitting on a gate for other reasons, and you're spamming your dScan key, seeing what's within 14 AU, you probably want it on max range and max angle, right? Because you want to know what's coming around you. If you were out ratting and it was a really busy system though, and you didn't, and maybe there was like, you were within range of a keep star that had a bunch of people sitting on the undock, you might drop it down a bit, say like only 5 AU. So now you're not being bothered by, not bothered, but you're not getting information overload of stuff that's going on. You're only noticing things that are coming within 5 AU of you. So that's really useful when you're out ratting, perhaps. Although you should probably just be getting out of system when anyone new comes into local who's neutral, or at least stocking up and getting safe. The other thing you can do when you're using it just for ratting or something, let's say you wanted to scan a specific site, or if you were traveling and wanted to scan a specific gate. So this isn't quite hunting yet, but you can set up your 5 degrees and align your camera with what you want to scan. Now doing that by turning your camera is difficult and cumbersome, and the main trick that you should take away from this that a lot of people don't know is you can auto align your camera and dScan and perform a dScan by holding down the dScan button, by default V, but I'm going to be using my mouse button, and clicking on something. So let's say I was warping over to the M5N0 gate and I wanted to check if there was a bubble on it. All I would do is hold down my dScan button, click on the gate in my overview, my camera snaps there, and it does a dScan. So I know that there's nothing on this gate. Well, I guess there could be certain recon chips, but there's no bubbles on the gate at least, so it's safe to warp to, right? In order to have this auto snapping thing, you do need your solar system map open. It can be minimized though. So if I wanted to check if there was anyone on the sun at the moment, hold down my dScan button, click it. I'm doing a 5-degree scan of the sun, and it's clear. So if I was going to warp to a site, let's say I was doing some ratting, getting my ticks in, and I wanted to see if there was anyone in the VXQ drone horde anomaly, because I wanted to go rat there. Again, I can just do a quick 5-degree dScan, and I know that there's nothing there. And it's clear for me to go start ratting there. And that's basically about it for what you would be doing when you're not hunting, right? So you constantly have your dScan up, you're watching what's coming around you, usually at maximum range. Maybe you'll drop it down a bit. If you're traveling and you want to check if the gate's clear, you can do your 5-degree angle and then dScan the gate. If I was going to go to beggar and I wasn't sure if it was clear or if there was hostiles on it, there's the beggar gate. So I have, let's say I didn't have a nice gate pin here on grid with it. I could warp to this asteroid cluster at 100 so that I'm getting within dScan range of the gate, right? So there's no chance they're going to have a bubble on the asteroid cluster. So now I'm not on grid with the gate, so I can't see what's there, but I am now in dScan range. So I can set it to 5 degrees, descan the gate, and I can see it's clear of bubbles, anchorable bubbles, as long as they're on the filter I'm using. And it would now be safe for me to warp here. So that's what they say when pinging off a celestial. Also, if there was an inline drag bubble or something like that, then by coming in at an angle, I might miss it as well. But yeah, so doing that, and then descanning sites for people who might already be ratting there, so you don't bother them. Now, on the hunting side of things, you might, oh, and then of course probes, combat probes landing on you, right? So if you have your descan at 1 AU, 360 degrees, and you see like 8 combat probes on you, it's probably time to move. Alright, when hostile scanning, you can just use the same overview. I often do. Is there nothing in space around us right now? Yikes. However, you might want to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to warp to the sun here. Oh, there wasn't anyone on scan from there before, was there? Oh well. As we're going through space, I'll be spamming dScan. So there was no one in that cluster. And there's just a coveter out here. There could still be someone out here. I haven't checked this cluster. And that's what you might hear scouts talking about during fleets, checking clusters. So if I jumped into the system, I might say warping system center, and then another scout might say trying the far cluster, or, you know, and then we're sort of like checking out the different parts via dScan. All right, but what I was saying was, right now I'm still just using my sort of like default dScan that has things that that has ships and probes and bubbles and a few other celestials, but you might want to change it to something that includes more stuff. So here I'm basically selecting everything that I can scan, and you can see that there is a lot of it, right? So this is kind of information overload. Having the Rex on scan is sometimes useful because you can see that someone was ratting somewhere. You might want to not have Rex but have MTUs, so you can see MTUs are out. So if you're trying to scan down a hostile ship that's out ratting, you can, if you find an MTU in an active site, you know that's probably where they were ratting and they moved, and you can make note of that site to come back later, or you can go kill their MTU, I guess, or at least use it as intel that they're awake and they moved out of it. If you are looking for miners, then it can be useful to have moons on your overview, so then you can just click on the moons and look at it. Of course, all of these moons are on the same planet, so they're probably all going to be on this single dScan, even by 5 degrees. So you'll have to warp over and get closer so you have more, what's it called, granularity between what you're looking at. So if you're hunting for so like I have an overview, my main dScan one, but I also have another one for if I'm hunting miners. So if I jump into a system and I see that there's a whole bunch of miners on scan, then I'll switch to a miners dScan, which then also has moons and asteroid belts on it for easier scanning, versus if I'm just hunting ratters or just scanning for fleet scanning in general. Awesome. All right, I think what we should do is practice some hunting now. So I'm going to jump into MJTAC, and I'll sort of go through the process that I go through. In my probe scanner window, I currently have cosmic signatures unchecked because I like how it shows filtered here, and that means it's a cosmic signature, so I can quickly see if there's any in the system without having to scroll up and down. Of course, again, if you have more screen space and you can have a bigger probe window or something that can afford to have all the recs on it and still be able to see stuff, then more power to you. Alright, so we're jumping into MJ and we're pretending we're going to hunt some ratters. Alright, so the first thing I can see is that I'm immediately seeing a lot of things on dScan. And as we can see from the solar system map, it's because I'm getting the entire solar system in one go. I don't have to worry about different clusters. It's a smaller system. I can also see from the ESS that there is 181 million, so people are out ratting, right? So in order to get the keep star and everyone sitting on it off my overview here, I'm just going to drop my range down a little bit, and that's a little bit better. So at 10 AU, I'm not getting the actual bean star and other parts, and I'm just looking around here. So I'm trying to figure out where this Vexor and Vedmak, Vexor and Ishtar are mostly, right? Because they're going to be out ratting. So I could start by just doing the 5 degrees and just start scanning every single anomaly, assuming they're out ratting. I guess they probably wouldn't be in a mining belt or a mining anom. But since there's so many of them within 10 AU, and I want to scan them quickly, because if they just saw me as a neutral or hostile come into system, they might be warping out. Rather than starting, in this case, with a 5-degree angle. If there was only 2 or 3 sites in range, then I would definitely just do 5-degree angle, quickly scan them all. I can try and narrow it down a bit. So if I'm looking for this Ishtar, I start at 10 AU and then I drop it down to 5 AU. Ishtar's off scan, so I know the Ishtar's between 5 and 10 AU. And then I can bring it around 7.5. The Ishtar's still off scan, so now I know it's between 7.6 and 10. So now if I look here, between 7.6 and 10, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different anomalies. And I know it's an Ishtar, so I know he's probably doing a drone horde. You have to be aware when you're hunting of the best anomalies in that type of system. So I'm pretty sure he's in this horde here. And then to double check, I can drop my angle down to 5 degrees, click on the drone horde. Oh, he's not there. Was that the one? Oh, there's this one here, sorry. There he is. So now I've found an Ishtar, and obviously that took me a little while because I was explaining what I was doing, but I could now warp to him. I could turn off my nullifier if I wanted to be extra best at locking him and have longer lock range, and then I could tackle him and call for my fleet, who's probably sitting in the next system, to jump in and help me kill him, or apply all the damage to kill him while I just hold him down. So let's look for, what was the other one, a Vexor that was within 5 AU. We'll drop it down a little bit more, 2.6. We could quickly check, is he on this Fortizar? He's not. So he's in space somewhere within 2.6 AU. There's only 3 to check. Okay, so he's in this drone patrol. So he's not in the horde, he's not in the belt, he is in the drone patrol. So then I would also be able to warp here and kill him. And that's sort of the system. Now, of course, when we're doing ZTAC E instead of MJ, we don't have the entire system on scan at once, right? As we saw one before. So if I was jumping into ZTAC E to hunt instead, I might say something like jumping gate. Oh, there's a Newton system. But I would say, if I was hunting blues, 5 Newton system, Praxis on scan. Quickly check if the Praxis is on one of these really close things. He's not. 5 AU. He could be on this Athnor. That would be a little strange. Let's see if we can find this Praxis. 3, 2. Okay, maybe he is on this Athnor and he went. No, he's not. Praxis, Praxis, Praxis. Is he doing a drone horde? Okay, the Praxis just landed. So he was out doing something, and then he just landed on a structure here, right? So now that I know that there's nothing on short, or on dScan, on the long, you would call it, because it's on long dScan, but I haven't checked these clusters yet. So if I wanted to check over here, I would probably blind warp a drone horde, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to bother people who are ratting. So instead I'll just warp over to the TCU, which is over here as well. And then as I'm going through space, I can be descanning. And we can see there's a Harbinger and an Abyssal Trace. The Harbinger is probably on the Tatara. Yes, so I just changed it to 5 degrees. Clicked on the Tatara to adjust my camera, and I can see that the Harbinger's there. I don't think we're going to find any ratters out because there's a Newton system. But then I could go over and check this next cluster and just sort of keep looking for ratters, right? And that's basically what hunting is. No one out here, but an Abyssal Trace. That's probably somewhere in the midpoint there. The bank just paid out, so I don't know if there's anyone out ratting or not. But that's the general idea of hunting around. And then, as I said before, you can also do, if you want to add MDUs to it, you can like add stuff like that. I think that's about all I have to say about descanning and hunting. I will actually, though, quickly, here we are, show you SMT. So this is the Salazar's, Slagathars, somebody's map tool. and it's a third-party tool you can download. You can see I currently have my characters active, and I can click auto follow on them, and then it shows me a map, and it has a lot of useful information here. So these green circles, because I have them selected, are current, where is it, NPC kills. So I can see there's been a lot of NPC kills in MJ, a bunch in 9WV, and then not so many in other places. You can also see storms. This sort of symbol here with the guy with the horns means it's a uni system, so we're going to have uni holes in it. We can see there's an ice belt here, and if you were doing entosising stuff, then you could also change it to show entosis timers. So then it highlights the constellation, and you'll get information about timers when solid warfare stuff is going on, right? There's a lot of other options here you can play around with if you'd like to show different information. Here we have our alliances, who's blue if you're looking for hostile space. You can also do routing through Thera. You can see Thera systems and their current status according to Eve Scout. Lots of useful information in here. If people are talking about like, okay, I'll go check the bottom cluster, or like I'll go down and check this little ratting pocket, they're probably using SMT to be able to quickly see where they are, where they're going, and all of that good stuff. This isn't a tutorial on that though. Oh, it also reads your intel logs so that you can see red dots on the map when people are reported in systems, which is useful for defending space or getting safe if you see someone coming in. And you can see Z Killboard. All right, there's a ton of information. Feel free to download it off GitHub and install it and use it because it's great. But yeah, that's it for me. So again, I mean, always have your dScan open. Probably bind it to a mouse button if you're doing anything in wormholes or if you're hunting or on fleets. I mean, at least be scanning regularly. A key that you click often. And then set it up at least for the defensive descanning so that you can see who's coming towards you, right? Or if combat probes are landing on you. Use it for scanning gates for bubbles or sites that you're warping into to rat in so that you don't bother other people and steal their precious ticks if you're in fleet with them. And then, yeah, give hunting a try as well, where you jump into system and then see who's on dScan, and if anybody is, narrow it down by range, or potentially, depending on how many sites are on scan, just immediately target them with your 5 degrees and start looking for them, and then warp to them, and tackle them, and kill them. All right, that's it for me. Hopefully you got something from this, and yeah, keep an eye on the space around you.